everybody, welcome back to Delta Nation. My name is Matt, and we are fastly approaching 900 subscriptions on the channel. I owe that all to you guys. So before we get started, if you could neon belly that like button for me, hit that sub, push the bell, all that good stuff, help the channel, help the algorithm. I would very appreciate that. Today, I'm talking about my biggest flaw as a white belt. Now,
hold on to your butts.
Now, sometimes on the channel, I'm like, what should I talk about in my next video? And I kind of like to go on stories if that's happened to me in my past. So I kind of look back at when I first started, especially as a big guy, an ultra heavyweight. It's different for us in a lot of ways when we compete or when we do train. So I'm going to try to say what my biggest flaw was at white belt, and a story that happened to me at white belt that I still regret to this day. Probably the most embarrassing thing to ever happen to me at white belt was at white belt in practice, and I still have regrets about it. I've even apologized for it. And so anyways, the biggest flaw at white belt for me would be, as a big guy, growing up, I'm always one of the bigger guys in school, sports, all that stuff. So winning was always so important that I didn't know how to lose well. And my ego carried into jiu-jitsu fairly early, right away. I didn't like to lose in class. I didn't like to work on my bad stuff. I like to win every sparring round. I would take bad performances in jiu-jitsu, I would take it home. And you know, I still do that. If I have a bad day in training, I'll go home, you take that long, lonely shower, and you're talking.
In a glass case of emotion.
Or you're talking to yourself like, well, and I think that's healthy. I think it's healthy to dwell on your bad performances, especially in the training room. But it also, you gotta let that shit slide off. You gotta be more willing to get better at the stuff you suck at. I know I say that a lot on this channel, but that's my biggest problem at white belt was I tried to muscle everything. I tried to just be a powerhouse. Everything, and that is great, but I would just, you know, winning was everything for me. And if I lost in class, I would be really upset, like in class. I did not like to lose, and you gotta learn to lose in this sport. Getting good at jiu-jitsu is being able to learn in class and being able to lose in class. And you can't learn unless you lose. So when I was in class and I would take losses, I would take them pretty hard. And, you know, from the outside standpoint, sometimes it would look like maybe it was like a little temper tantrum I'd be throwing or something like that. And I see that today in training rooms. I see that, especially in the lower belts, like people really take their losses hard because they're so competitive and they want to be better. And sometimes you can't believe that this little guy who's smaller than you, who's been training for 6 years, is beating you, and you can bench 350 pounds. You could bench 400 pounds. What the heck? How's this little guy always bow and arrow choking me or taking my back? And it's kind of hard to realize that technique is so important. It's probably the most important. When you get two strong guys together, the guy who's technical is going to win. So, an embarrassing story that happened to me at white belt. One of my professors early on in my jiu-jitsu was Joao Assis, ADCC world champion. Joao Assis, a legit stud, a killer. Still couldn't probably freaking tie his belt today. I know I couldn't. He's a beast of a competitor, a beast of a trainer, trains out of electric jiu-jitsu. Check Matt. So if you ever want to stop by, say what's up, tell him I sent you. He's a stud. He also does Guns and Gis. It's a program where you can learn how to shoot and do jiu-jitsu. Like, sign me up for that. So I would look at them. I'll try to put up their little link right here or something, so you can check them out. Anyways, I was rolling with Joao. He's like, Matt, let's go, let's roll. Me, egotistical white belt that I was like, well, I'm about 240 pounds. He's about 215 pounds. I'm just gonna bully him, because I bully the other white belts in class. I bully the blue belts in class just on pure size. And I was like, he's gonna beat me, but I'm not gonna tap. I'm gonna survive the round. And sometimes that's good as a white belt or as a lower belt. Set up even as a higher belt, set up goals for you in class. Like, hey, today, if I'm an upper belt, I'm going to do 5 armbar finishes today. If I don't armbar this guy, I lose. Set up games like that. That's always good. So I was even doing that at white belt. I was like, I'm not going to get subbed by him. Anyways, we're rolling. And he's probably going 20% on me. I don't know. I'm going balls to the wall. And he subs me. Of course. He subs me. And I turn away. This is so embarrassing. I turn away and I slam the mat with my hand. And I yell out an expletive, F word, right?
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this. Look at this.
And I slam the mat with my hand. And how disrespectful is that for me to him? Like, he's who he is, and I am who I am, a freaking high school athlete that lifts a lot of weights. And how like, to even think that he wasn't going to sub me, that's the mindset I had, and that's not good. So what I'm saying is, that's the most embarrassing story that I ever had. I've apologized to him in the past for it. I was like, dude, I couldn't imagine. Like, you're a black belt. I am a 0-stripe white belt, and I just slammed the mat because you subbed me, because I was expecting not to get subbed. I liked my competitive spirit, but you gotta just go to class like it's class. Now, what do I think that helps that situation? I think when you compete, the first time you compete helps that situation, because you realize it's another level up of intensity. And when it's another level up in intensity, when you come back to practice after your tournament, you're more willing to take L's, because you're like, hey, I'm doing it for something. I compete now. Losing in class means nothing. I'm not every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not like going to class thinking like it's ADCC or it's IBJJF Pans or Worlds, right? So I really think that competing is important for your mindset of your training, especially at the ultra heavyweight level, because you're so used to being the biggest and the strongest. It's the only place you can really get guys your size. And if you win gold in any of these tournaments, and if you're training hard, there's a good chance you are going to win gold. If you win gold, when you go back to practice, you're not afraid to lose, because you already got the hardware saying that, like, hey man, when I compete, I win. So I'm okay on taking my L's in class. So just be mindful of your ego. Be mindful of, these guys are learning, Jiu-Jitsu was built for the little guy. That's what I think Helio Gracie said, right? But that's until the big guys learn Jiu-Jitsu. Now we're here to smash souls, am I right? But we gotta learn the technique. We gotta take the L's from the little guy. And if you lose to a little guy, ask him, hey man, what'd you do? Don't ask him the next roll, but ask him after class, like, hey man, how are you getting my back? What am I doing wrong? Ask questions. You don't have to ask questions just to black belts. You can ask questions to a higher ranked white belt. You can ask questions to anybody after class. That's how you build camaraderie. That's how you build teamwork. That's how you build a good foundation of your game. So be humble out there. Don't dwell on your losses so much. And that was the biggest flaw I had as a white belt. Again, if you like this video, neon belly that like button. Help us out. Ocean Nation, our Instagram. That's like a meme page. So if you like jiu-jitsu comedy and memes, I do a lot of that there, because I think I'm a silly goose. And that's what I like to do. Facebook, same thing. I post a lot of my vlogs there too, and I'm on both, but it's a lot about comedy, and because this sport is fun, and if you can't have fun, what are we doing, right? So my name is Matt, and thanks for watching. Os.